how's it going? Welcome to Zim's Book Club. It's been a while since I've done one of these. This is the Zim video. Thanks for joining. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to get your subscription. I'm trucking along to 100,000 subscribers. Let's do it. You and me together. Alright. Anyways, it's been a while since I've joined you for a book club, and thanks for joining me, as I said already. But just to catch you up, I was the last one I did. At the end of it, I said I was gonna read the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get through it. It just wasn't working out for me, so I just stopped. And then I took a pretty long hiatus. Actually, I did read a couple books, but I'm planning on doing. Have you read the Fablehaven series by Brandon Muehl? I read some of those books. Amazing, but I'm going to talk about those in another video. But today, I came across Name of the Wind. I got to do my thumbnail shot right there, right? Name of the Wind. Have you read it? Well, of course, hopefully you have, because that's why you're joining us. If you haven't read it, maybe don't watch this video until you have read it, because I'm gonna speak freely about concepts and ideas. I don't know, I really don't get too spoilery, really, but I'm not gonna worry about it if I do. But this is the book we're gonna talk about today. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about. First, I always like to start off these videos. I'm gonna put it right over here while we talk about it. I also have the second book. I'm already into the second book, like that far. But let me tell you a little bit about how I read, how I relate to books, so it gives you a little context, because I think that's important. I'm dyslexic, so my history of reading is always been, it's been a struggle. Like when I grew up, I was not the type of kid that found joy in reading. It took me a really long time to find joy in reading. Now that I'm older, I've definitely found that joy in reading. I've read lots of books and I like it a lot, but being a dyslexic, I think lends to what kind of books that make it easier for me to enjoy. And I found books that are a nice balance of action and thought, not too heady. That's why I couldn't make it through the Foundation series very easily, because it was all heady. It was all just thought stuff. It wasn't like, there was no action, there was no movement in the book, at least not the kind that works for me. So I gave up on that, but I need a nice balance. I need there to be some kind of, and then nice balance of action and thought, but also not overly kind of like strong in dialect and different odd languages, and that makes it really difficult for me to get through the book. The example I always use is the Lord of the Rings books, Tolkien books. I've never read them because I've tried a few times and I just can't get through them because there's too many names, too many dialects, too many just odd things that just makes it really hard for my brain to stay with it. So those are some of the things that, some of how when I approach a book, like if I'm confronted with those things, I won't be able to make it through them, and I know that already. So I don't really try to work too hard at struggling through it. I just find books that do work for me and go from there. And these books by Patrick Rothfuss really worked for me. I did a little bullet point list of ideas, and this is not going to be really in any particular order. I'm just going to talk freely. Hopefully, if you've read it, you can post your comments about some of the thoughts and ideas that you've had based on what I said or something I didn't say that you'd like to add to the conversation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. How I found out about this book was I drive for Lyft, and one of my passengers recommended it, and so I just, right then in the car, went to Amazon and ordered it right away. When I got the book, it actually took me a long time to actually start reading it. I had it sitting around. I might have read the first page a long time ago in a way. But eventually I just kind of bit the bullet and just kind of got into it and started reading it. And it was actually took me a bit longer than normal to get engaged with the book. Like at the beginning of the story, when how do you pronounce his name? That's another thing I wanted to say. Koth? I don't know. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Kothe? The main character. Let's just say the main character. He's in the inn and doing his innkeeper thing at the beginning. It was not until he gets to, and that's another thing, just to preface this as well. When I read books, I actually don't really ever read the name of the person. I tend to just see the picture of the word and go, oh, that person, and don't really bother about pronunciation. I go, okay, that's the picture of of that person's name, and then go on with it. I mean, unless it's an obvious one, like Sim or whatever. But I'm trying to see if I can see Kothe, Kavoth, Kavoth. Yeah, help me out. What does it sound like? I don't know. Do like one of those, rhyme it with something for me in the comments if you know how to pronounce the name. But anyways, okay, so we got his name now. But anyways, when he was the innkeeper at the beginning, and then they started with the spider demon thing, and he has a little story around that with the people of the town that he's in, and then he goes out, like a night he goes out and he fights them, and like he creates that fire scene where he's fighting them and kills them, I guess, and he attracts them to him and he kills them, and that's where he meets the chronicler guy. I hope I did that right too, chronicler. The guy that's writing his story. So like that, like it got me, like that's when it started to get good. It like took a while. It was like a well into. It wasn't like just right at the first paragraph. It was a couple paragraphs in when the action started happening and it kind of got me engaged. And then when when he got back to the inn and the chronicler started talking to him and they decided to tell his story, it just totally just like the brakes got slammed, and it's like it was like I was like, oh man, in the beginning of when he kind of started the book twice. It started and then stopped and then started again. At least that's the way it felt for me. So it really took a while to get into the book. Once they started telling the story and kind of nearing toward like when he started learning stuff from the Ben character, it started to pick up for me. Definitely when his parents got killed, that whole situation that sent him into the as alone. Once he was alone and going on his adventures, that really grabbed me in. That was really good. I was really enjoyed all that. How he lived on the streets, and that really kept me engaged. I was like wanted to know what was happening. And then I think he got to the university, right? And then they introduced the Dina character, right? Is that right? Dina, again, pronunciation. The woman with many D names. So again, they introduced the Dina character, and I felt like when they introduced the Dina character, the brakes slammed on the story really hard. Like the pace, it just slowed way down again, and I was like, oh my god. And I just felt like a little bit like he spent too much time. I felt like I got the concept pretty quickly of how important she was, and maybe it's important in the second book to do so much setup. I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know. I'm honestly, I won't go there yet. I'll talk about that in the next book. But I have some thoughts about what's going to happen in the next book with the Dina character. But it just, the setup that he's really laying into it and really slowed down the pacing of the book, talking about how important she was to him and how much he liked her and all that kind of stuff. So it just really, it never quite matched. Like, once she was introduced, the rest of the book never quite matched before she was introduced. And I'm not talking about the cart scene where we met her early and didn't know who she, that she was the same person. But that whole, the sequence, before we met her, I felt the book was like, this is amazing. This book is like, wow, this is really, it's like the way the storytelling was happening is really flowing for me. And then once Patrick introduced the Dina character, the story slowed down. It changed and slowed down, and so that was something that I noticed for me. Some other the kind of bullet points about this book that came up for me. I'm phrasing it like if I had to describe it to somebody, like a quick description of what I think this book is like, I'd say it's kind of like an adult Harry Potter. It's a little more adult themed, and a little more, but very. It's almost, it like rides that line of like, what do they call them, like middle readers or young adult fiction or whatever, it rides that line. Like a kid, somebody younger could easily read this book, I think, and feel like they could relate to it because of the coming of age story of Kavoth. and that kind of stuff. But and how it's said, and that they spend so much time with him in a youthful place. And that was one thing. I know this is random, but that's the way my videos are. Another idea that came up for me as well is just the overall, like, rating of this book for me. Like, how would I rate it? I would say it's very good, but not all time. Like, I would not say it's like one of my all-time favorites. My all-time favorite books, and maybe it's, personal preference, but other things. I have two all-time favorites. My number one all-time favorite book is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and my second all-time favorite book is the newer one, Ready Player One. So those are, and both of those are sci-fi, and this is obviously not sci-fi, but the way those read compared to the way this read, and mainly, like, like, going back to what I said earlier about, the pacing of the book up till we met the Dina character, I was like, wow, this could be in ranking for me. This could be in the top shelves of my, but then once the Dina character, it, like, started to slow down and it had less of a continuity of, like, this, like, it just didn't feel as, like, yes, this is it. It felt like there was, I don't know, I kind of think they just spent too much time on explaining the Dina character. So that was kind of one of the things. One of the things with how he wrote the story, there's a couple bullet points here. Three that go into the kind of tone and feel and style of this book that I've noticed. It feels like I feel like I could notice when, and I wish I had an example of this, so this is going to be a terrible thing to say, but I feel like I could tell when the author was interjecting his philosophy on life, because there's, like, a whole bunch of nuggets. There's, like, tons of philosophical nuggets throughout this book that can be taken out of the story itself, this timeline of this world he lives in, and it could be applied to our world. It just, like, it felt like I could feel him. I could feel like, oh, here comes one, and it came, and it's like, and then it was like a sentence of a nugget of a philosophy, and then he went on with his story. It was like this, you could kind of feel these little things that kind of popped out of context. I mean, in a way, or not necessarily out of context, but I just felt them more than I felt them in other stories. Like, they didn't kind of, like, mesh into the story as well as I think some authors do with philosophy. He kind of, like, would, like, just drop these nuggets just, like, in it. Maybe I'll find one eventually and put it in the comments. But the other thing is I really liked, about the way so one of the strengths of this book for me, the way I liked how he did, like, the kind of artistic kind of, I don't know, idea of it, is how he told a story within a story and within a story. So, like, he told, he starts as an adult, they're adults, and then he's telling his story as a kid, and then within the story of telling as a kid, people tell stories of the kind of culture, I guess, the history of this world, with the people he's trying to find, and the different, what are they called? Again, another name. See, I never, Charlans or something? Charlem, I don't even know. I'm not going to try to find it. You know what I'm talking about, though. The Chardonnans. Anyways, those guys, learning the stories of the people he's trying to find, and so it was really cool. The way I described it was like Inception, like the movie Inception, where it's like a dream within a dream within a dream. It's kind of similar to that. It's like a story within a story within a story, just keeps going on, So I thought that was really cool. I also I think there's what makes this book good as well is it has a lot of, like, depth, in terms of, like, not heady, like, make you think depth, layers of, like, he really got into, he's got multiple languages, and he has, like, phrases within those languages, so that gives it some depth. It gives it, like, this world could really exist. And the money system that he came up with, another thing that gives it some depth. And then also, well, those are the two I can think of at the moment. But those two, I feel like there was one other thing, but I can't think of it now. But, like, it gives it, like, there's, like, a thought process. Like, the world building of this world he put some time into it, it seems. And it's, like, it fascinates me to think about what he hasn't told us yet about this world that's in his notes and possibly in his notes. Like, he could have a whole, just kind of compendium of, like, this world and what it's like and those kind of things. So I don't know. That's it. That's my review. That's my discussion of this book, Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I would love to hear what you think about it again in the comments. Like, what did you like? What did you didn't like? My main question for you is how would you compare this book to some work of art that's already existence? Like, what would you compare it to? Like, I made the comparison of Harry Potter. Like, I felt like it's like a version of a Harry Potter like world. What would you compare it to? Let me know. Put it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't read it, and hopefully I inspired you to check it out. If you have, and yeah, otherwise, love to hear your thoughts. All right, until next time.